And welcome to Smoothie with Sharan. And my name is Reena Rupani. I'm part of the Sharan team. So let's start with today's guest. But before that, let me tell you what Smoothie with Sharan is all about. So we say, Sharan is all about health. So we don't have coffee, but we have smoothie, green smoothie every day. Though this is not the time we have, but for the show, I've had it. And this is going to be my dinner tonight. And it's late for dinner, but okay, once in a Friday, I do take that liberty. So, Smoothie with Sharon is a show where we celebrate people who don't do things which everyone does. They do things differently and they do it with a purpose for their own evolution, a purpose for the environment, or it could be compassion, or could be a blend of everything. But there is a purpose and there is a road less traveled which is taken. And it's really, really inspiring to listen to such people because you at some point of time realize that if they can do it, so can I. And I'm so happy to welcome you all over here. And I would like to invite our guest for today, Meher. Hi, Meher. Welcome.
Namaste, everybody. Thank you for having
Namaste.
me. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So Meher has a lot of caps on her head and a lot of feathers in her cap, I would say. And we're going to unravel each feather today, Meher. So I hope you're there to, inspire all of us and, maybe make somebody feel that, oh, I can also do something about this. So looking forward to interacting with you. But starting with smoothie, do you have a smoothie every day?
Well, this every day in the morning, yes. This
Yes,
time in the Delhi winter, there's
I
no
know.
way I'm having a smoothie in the night.
Okay.
But yes, in the mornings, a green smoothie, most definitely.
Okay. And has it made a difference? Do you feel any difference after you started having a green smoothie?
Yes, actually, because I recently went on this whole nutrition plan that was designed for me by a very, very well-known vegan plant-based nutritionist
Mhm.
and holistic practitioner. And one of the things she heavily incorporated was to have smoothies and use your seasonal greens, and the winter especially being such a great time for the greens
Of
coming in.
course, right.
I think that it really improves everything from digestion to my mood to to just how I'm feeling. I think, and I think it directly impacts your gut health, which I think automatically makes you just feel better. So I think starting off your day with a smoothie is one of the best things you can do for yourself.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So let's start. Let's start with belly dancing. I mean, I was just listening to the music and I was moving, and it was so good. And I didn't. I mean, never, because I was going to speak to you today, so I kind of researched a bit about this. But it's amazing. I can understand a little bit now that what drove you to it. But to make it as a career and to be from India, where this is not really looked upon in a very, let's say, in a very nice way in most cultures. So how was that? I mean, that was must have been a challenge. And how did it come surface and how did you manage to take it forward?
So I moved from Middle East to India in the year 2006. And I had no intentions of being a professional dancer. I came to India because I wanted to study fashion at NIFT, and I got admission, and I was, very, very excited about it. And so we decided to leave behind Muscat, Oman, where I lived, and then come be in India. And then I think it was few months into my studies that I realized that that wasn't my calling. I wasn't feeling it from the deepest part of me. And dance was something that was always a part of my life. In school, I had classical dance. I started with Bharatanatyam when I was a very young child. And then there was a lot of exposure to the Arabic culture, music, the dance, etc. So when I decided to quit college, because like I said, it wasn't speaking to me from deep within, I told my parents that dancing was something I wanted to, give my hand at, try my hand at professionally. Obviously they weren't very okay with it because I was a topper in school, and they were not okay
I,
with me making this shift from like being academic to like being a dancer now. Okay, how can you make that switch just like that? Parents, they could not understand it in the beginning. And I told them that you give me a year, let me try to see what I can do with dancing, because it's something that I feel and something that's calling to me rather than me deciding that I wanted to do it. I just feel like every time I dance, or every place that I've gone to study dance, it's just something that comes to me very naturally. And I feel extremely joyous when I'm dancing.
Mhm.
And then, one thing led to another. Before I knew it, I was already starting to teach classes in Delhi, because I had been belly dancing since the age of 14. And I had started in the Middle East in an informal gathering at weddings, learning from, teachers here and there in a very discreet way. Because unlike what most people think, that everybody in the Middle East is belly dancing, it's not true. Unfortunately, the countries that it comes from are the countries that it's looked down upon the most.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, I didn't know.
They're more for the New Year parties and the cabarets and the bars, and they're not really for families. And then there's this other part of it, which is, you're dancing in these women-based parties and this very quiet community thing, and you don't very officially talk about it, or you don't say that you're practicing belly dance. It's a very unsaid thing.
Okay. Okay.
So when I came to India, obviously that was the mindset surrounding belly dance. It was the same mindset.
Yeah.
But I didn't see that as a problem. I saw that as an opportunity. Until date, I don't look at people's closed mentality to anything as a problem, because it's that my opinion in such a vast world is just one opinion. And what I feel about belly dancing can never be explained or expressed to someone unless they've actually gone through that journey or they've had that calling. Right. So for me, it was never a problem. Yes, there were a lot of challenges and obstacles in the way of wanting to pursue it professionally. Dancers wouldn't make commitments to it, or parents would have troubles with their student or their daughters going on stage. Someone would have an issue with the costumes, someone would have an issue with some other thing, and I don't think that that's the way that I want my daughter to be looked at. And there were all kinds of issues. And even me, when I went to promote myself as an artist, there was always this other expectation that I'd be providing something else along with the performance. Always. And luckily, I've always had my head over my shoulders, my feet grounded firmly, and confidence. So I think that that's what carried me through and made me realize that I was not here to change, or rather make people belly dance. I was here to be an example for it. And the only way to make people see what it was, truly what it was for what it's worth, the only way to do that was to be an example for it. And I would say that when you start paying attention to that aspect of it, that I will be a leading example for this art form, you cease to start looking at any other thing as an obstacle. Right. It doesn't matter anymore. And then automatically, everything around you, when your vibration changes, everything around you starts changing, because you have ceased to look at any of the obstacles or the problems and the challenges. Instead, you look at it as, what can I do to be an example, or what can I do to help people get educated about the dance form? And then from then on, my mentality completely shifted, and it was just like, all I'm going to do is for belly dance as a dancer, bringing the dance to the forefront, respecting the dance. And before you know it, things had completely changed. And I don't think I live in the same world that I lived in the year 2006. It's not the same world at all. Wow. At one point of time, belly dancing was only for a certain community. But now, there's people coming from all kinds of classes and backgrounds and professions to study belly dance. So I don't think I'm facing those challenges anymore.
Wow. So what do you think? Was it your passion or your calling that got you that confidence to move on? I mean, was it the fact that you were looking only towards what made you happy and just went on with it? Like, what at such a young age, what gave you the confidence to, okay, no, I let me just focus and not let that be as a challenge? What do you think was that driving factor?
So I think listening to my inner voice is something that I have always been in touch with. Now, whether that's my own karma, or whether that's that my parents gave me a certain kind of environment, or whether that I just had a very strong inner voice that was always speaking to me, and an inner ear that was always listening. So I think developing that, and if you feel disconnected from your intuition, if you feel disconnected from the inner voice, there's enough and more kinds of programs and teachings and places where one can go to fine tune those parts of us. Right. Although it is as a child, when you look at a child is completely in tune with their intuition. Correct. So it's not something that we have to actually learn. it's something that we have to unlearn. Why am I not in touch with my intuition, or why can't I listen to that inner voice? And so people will go in life, marry the wrong people, have children when they're not ready, have jobs or professions that they're not happy with, live in a country that they're not vibrationally feeling. So I think one of the first things is to sit down and really take a moment to look at the aspects of your life and first question and see, am I in the right place doing the right thing? And if something calls you to do something otherwise, I always feel it is worth exploring, so that tomorrow you don't feel like you didn't give it a try.
Right, correct. Right.
So I think that's the first thing, that I found something that was calling me and I was getting called to completely.
So did your parents come around very quickly?
Yes, they came around because, when you see a person who is absorbed in something, mind, body, and soul, I don't think anybody can deny it.
Right.
When you watch an Amitabh Bachchan, as much as you might not want your child to become an actor, you resonate with that mind, body. That person's resonating with it, mind, body, and soul, and you can't deny it.
Correct. Right.
So it's really embodying everything that you want to be, everything that you want to do, and not giving yourself a chance to fail at it. And it's okay to have failures, but those failures should not lead you to giving up.
Absolutely. Right. So,
yeah.
Changing your perception changed everything.
Yes, because I knew that I was giving up on education, so-called formal education, which was going to be a problem for me, which was going to have society looking at me a certain way. So I knew that if I was going on a different path, on the path less taken, I had to do it my way. And it had to be a way that was coming with conviction and commitment and love and passion and devotion. And I think that it's easy to have all of those qualities when you are resonating with something completely. Then it gets easy to practice those virtues.
And you're so fortunate that you found it so quickly, in a way, right?
That is, I do see a lot of people who don't. And that's something, unfortunately, I don't think I can say is my doing. I think it's just how things were planned,
So what has following your inner calling or your passion given you?
I think more than what it gives me, I realized through my journey, it gives a lot of other people a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And in the fact that it gives a lot of other people a lot of things, whether it is that moment where, you're letting, and no offense to, anybody here, but we know that we as women live in a patriarchal society. So a lot of the decisions about what we should be doing as women are made by either fathers or brothers or husbands or boyfriends, etc. So one other thing I realized that belly dance has given predominantly women, we have male students too, but predominantly women, is just simply starting with, no, this is my body and this is what I want to do with it. This is how I want to express myself. It's for me. It's not for you. I'm not belly dancing to please your eyes. I'm belly dancing to please myself.
Right, right.
So the first thing I think belly dance has given through me is a lot of women the chance to get in touch with their inner being, their sensuality, feeling empowered in their own skin, body positivity. And that's such a beautiful place to start.
Absolutely, right.
Along with that, there's so much more. It helps with your digestion. It helps with, firing up that internal Manipura Agni. It helps with connecting with your womb. It helps with preparing for childbirth, because belly dance, what a lot of people don't know, is a childbearing dance form. So it's a dance form that prepares the womb to give birth.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. All right. Okay.
So there's a lot that people don't know about it still. And I feel like through me becoming the vessel for the dancing style, it reaches out to a lot of other people who are searching for that something. And when I feel like they have a chance to discover themselves, it automatically becomes a chance for me to discover myself through them.
Correct.
There's a lot to experience, I think, through the experiences of others.
Wonderful. And so for people who don't look at belly dancing in the way you look at it, how do you see belly dancing?
How do I see it personally?
Yeah.
I have belly danced, ever since I can remember, since I was a teenager. And, when I started changing, when my body started changing. And I think belly dance gave my body a place to belong. And that's what it does. one of the most amazing things about belly dance is that a lot of professional belly dancers in today's world are those dancers whose bodies changed in a way that it didn't suit a ballet class anymore. Because when you are a ballet student, a student of ballet, you are expected to maintain a certain kind of structure and just a physical visual that is a certain way. So many belly dancers come from a background of ballet, and then their bodies changed. Their hips became wider, their breasts became bigger, their bodies changed, and then there wasn't a place for them in ballet anymore. And so belly dance becomes that place for so many bodies to be accepted, to be embraced, and to be loved. So for me, in a world where women are always in this fight between connecting to their deeper divine feminine, but also fighting to race against the masculine, I feel like belly dancing gives you this chance to slow down, to connect with who you are, to connect with the creative energy of your womb. And it's a very powerful, I think, a very potent practice, both physical as well as emotional, and at a deeper level, spiritual as well.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So how did going plant-based come about?
So since I was a little girl, I've had this issue, or trouble rather, where I would have nosebleeds and I'd have these random migraines with bouts of vomiting. I would always dance as a hobby. So people would say the silliest of things, like nazar lag gayi hai, or like, you haven't eaten properly, or you're not taking care of yourself, or you're not drinking enough water. And it wasn't any of those things. I realized that it was something to do with something that I was eating. And that when you're children, definitely two of the things that parents will give you is milk and almonds.
Yeah.
And as I became, as I aged, as I got older, I realized that I was getting sicker. So I would get those migraine and gastro attacks more often than when I was younger. They'd be once in 6 months, and then slowly they started becoming once a month. And it was very strange for me. And so I eventually went around to do an allergy test 5 years back that told me something I wasn't very surprised about, that I was allergic to dairy and almonds.
Oh, okay.
And imagine having those all your life. It was, I used to hate milk as a child also. I'd often find the opportunity to flush it down the toilet. It made me queasy. My parents didn't understand. How? No, you're just acting. I'd go on the school bus and I wanted to vomit. It just wasn't something that, and then you make this association because you're getting the almond along with the milk. So even though the almond might not be your enemy and maybe the dairy is, you automatically make that association that both things together are your enemy.
Enemies, right.
And your body responds to them like that. And then when I did the allergy test, the first decision I made, and obviously was already resonating with me because I knew something was going on in the background, I decided to go vegan. But that was just a start. When I went vegan, I realized so many things changed. My thoughts changed. And I would say everything from my sexual relationships to my thoughts, to how I danced, to how light my body felt, to my connection with, everything that was around me, my connection with nature. So much changed because there was a decision that I was making, on the basis of health, but I had already gone vegetarian at the age of 9 years old because I didn't want to eat an animal. So I was only eating dairy before that and no animals. And so that I was already doing it for the animals.
Right.
But then I did it for health, as I became older. And then now I had both factors. I was doing it for the animals. I was doing it for health. And everything just resonated with my complete being. And my life completely changed. And I had a complete, fully, vegan pregnancy. My daughter is 20 months. She's vegan. My mother went vegan after I went vegan. I think it was one of the best decisions we made for ourselves.
How wonderful. And I think you were again led there, right?
Yeah.
In a way. It just
I
needed
think we all are led to
Yeah.
these things. We just don't want to listen.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, how was the pregnancy? How is your daughter doing compared to other 20 months old? Because a lot of people are always, fearing that, oh, how will she get her calcium, and cow's milk is so important, especially when it comes to kids. So, how do we do that? How did you manage with your baby?
So firstly, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm breastfeeding on demand. I'm not listening to anybody in the sense of you have to stop breastfeeding at this time or that time, which means that I do a constant check on what my blood levels look like, my calcium levels, my, protein, my B12, my D3. And, I feel like in today's world, B12 and D3, which are like the usual things people are worried about, has ceased to be a vegan or a vegetarian issue. I know so many people that are consuming meat that have low B12 and D3 levels. Two reasons. A, we're not getting out into the sun, so no D3, where our relationship with the sun is drastically different because of pollution, because of, in a place like Delhi, where am I getting real sun anyway?
Absolutely. Right.
And then B12, because we're not working with the soil, we're too, we've become very obsessive, compulsive about not dirtying ourselves. We're not eating organic anymore. There's so much pesticide in what we're consuming. So it's not just a vegan or vegetarian problem anymore, Yeah. So I am making sure that whatever I'm not able to get from food, I'm getting from plant-based supplements. Yeah. I'm using plant-based supplements and they're doing me very well. So the levels keep going up and down, and that's okay because I know that it happens, and I know it happens when I have a child. Sometimes, life catches up with me and I'm not able to do exactly how I want to do things, and that's okay. So my daughter is 20 months now. She has always been a tiny baby, but I'm not surprised because my husband and I are both about 5'2.5". So we're both 5'2", 5'3", and we're the same height, and we're both very medium built people. So my child was born at 2.3 kg. She was not born very big. She's been in the lower percentile since the beginning, since the pregnancy, since the start. I was at some point asked by the doctors, by the gynecologist, to add something that was animal based, like say eggs. Mm-hmm. And I want to say this here because this is an important experience to share. So I decided, okay, you're scared. You're a first-time mother. You're afraid that maybe your decisions are not the right decisions. And so I decided to have eggs. And I had eggs for about, I think, 8 to 10 days. And then I had another ultrasound. And what was surprising is after those 8 to 10 days, before that, they were saying that my baby was too small in my belly. And then after the 8 to 10 days, they said that my AFI, or my amniotic fluid index, had increased. So I needed to stop whatever I was eating. I said, I'm eating everything the same way. And the only thing that I did was add eggs because you said so.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not feeling it. It's making me pukish already. I don't resonate with it. I stopped. Everything went to normal. It's those first few months where you're vomiting and you're not eating anything,
That
so it was too
anyway.
Exactly. So it was too soon for them to even say that to me. I realized by the 6th, 7th month, things were back to normal. Baby was growing. Everything was fine. But she was born small. And she is still a smaller baby than 20-month-old. She's in the lower percentile. But it isn't about what percentile the child is in. It's about whether the child is steadily growing within that percentile. And every time we've gone to the doctor, her weight steadily grows, her height is steadily growing. And to be honest, her mental and emotional milestones are way beyond any child I know her age, or even beyond any 3-year-old I know.
Wow.
She can tell me, I have a multi-religious temple. She can tell me the name of every idol that's present. She can, count numbers. She's only 20 months. She can do alphabets. She can tell me colors. She paints. She is extremely devotional, and herself feels like praying and sits down to do satsang with my grandmother. She has very, very beautiful emotional, mental milestones, which anybody who meets her is surprised at.
I can imagine just listening to that. I'm not surprised being a vegan child. I think I totally understand. I've seen vegan children, and you can see that there is something different,
And if you think about it, I was probably also led there because she was like us. We were not vegan from the start. Our parents were eating something, and then I had some karma that acted up and said, I don't want to eat animals and things like that, so on and so forth. And some parents don't even allow that process to naturally happen for their children. They become obstacles to that process. But you should see her eat salad. She's eating lettuce and, Pok choy like it's nobody's business,
How
and
blessed. How
oh my
blessed.
gosh, she's like, Mama, and she'll tell me, Mama, I'm like, are you hungry? What do you want to eat? She's like, Mama, leaves. I'm like, okay. And she's like, please put nimbu. I'm like, okay, I'll put nimbu in your leaves.
Wow. Wow.
And I feel like she had to be who she is. And because she had to come into this world, I had to
Made
go
you
through a
ready.
huge cleansing process.
Correct, correct.
Yeah,
She made you
yeah,
ready. Right.
yeah.
So what about your husband? Did you inspire him to be vegan or was he vegan already?
It's quite magical, my husband's journey. He comes from he's Nepalese. So he comes from a Nepalese family that are hardcore meat eaters.
Mhm.
Although another person's philosophy is not on me. So I'm not that kind of a vegan who is going to, you know, attribute all the bad qualities of the world with you because you choose to eat meat. That's not me at all.
Yes, yes.
I
So
think it's everybody's journey.
right. Yeah,
But I
exactly.
used to always ask him. I used to ask him, why do you eat? Because he's a huge animal lover. He's had dogs all his life, and he's had 30, 40 dogs in his lifetime. He
Okay.
loves animals and he's brilliant with them. It's like they just respond to him. And I
Wow.
was like, I used to ask him, I was like, if you love animals so much, how is how is a dog more precious than a cow? How? And I could never relate to that. And he used to say, you know what, I get what you're saying. It's just that it's in your taste buds, you
Oh,
know,
right.
and it's in your taste buds. And what do? You're just used to that taste. I was like, okay, fine, I understand. It's a pattern that you can't break out of. It's okay. It's all right. If we're driven by senses, we are going to do, I mean, somebody that commits rape or murder or slaughter is designed to follow has an imbalance in that sense space, because they're driven by sense. And humans in that sense have evolved beyond animals, and we're not only driven by sense, we're also driven by sense,
Correct. Yes.
so I feel like we need to decide which sense we're actually driven by. And so my husband, over time, observing me, observing his daughter, I think it's his daughter that brought that into his life.
Uh-huh.
One day just calls me from, he's a photographer, so just calls me from this event he's at, and he's very excited. And he says, you know what, there's meat here and I don't feel like eating it.
Just out of
And
the blue.
out of the blue. And I never forced it upon him.
Wow. Wow.
Never. I said, okay, when your time comes, fine.
Fine. Fair enough. Fair.
And I said, I hope that when she questions you someday, you will admit that you're wanting to make this change, but you can't.
Right.
So you
Yeah.
have to be truthful to her, and you have to tell her what is on her plate. You have to be, father enough to say that to her.
Right.
So he just said it himself. And then he's not completely vegan, because I think he's sometimes still eating like yogurt and stuff like that, so he's still eating some, maybe, yeah, ghee and stuff, like some things like that. But I don't think he's far from it, because he's already made a huge shift. And I feel like it doesn't happen by coercion. Maybe he's in my life and I'm in his life and she's in our life, because all of this was meant to happen.
Absolutely.
And he's making these changes on his own, and he feels more driven, and he'll tell me, why are you putting vegan butter on your sandwich and not on mine? I was like, yeah, you know what? Why am I not?
Right.
Now that I have found every possible thing, to suit your taste palette, why am I not doing it?
Right. Right.
So he says it to me. He
has
says, he says that I should actually try to give him as much vegan food as possible.
How wonderful. How wonderful. And how
Yeah.
long has it been, Meher, for him?
For me, for
For
him, actually not very long. I think about 8 months, and he actually celebrates it every month. He has an anniversary date, like today I went 8 months, 7 months, like
How cool. And do
yeah.
you see a difference in it?
Well, I think I have always seen this in him, but it's something he didn't see in himself, because he was not born in a culture like that,
But do you see him different in any way after going even partially vegan, if not 100%, but maybe
Yeah.
80 or 90%?
I feel like that's what I feel like. And he also said that I feel like philosophically he's always been plant-based in his head, but he just could never do it. So
Couldn't make
there
the
isn't
connection.
yeah so there isn't a difference in who he is, because he's always been a very tender person.
But is he
But
feeling better? I mean, is he
he
feeling?
he definitely feels better, that's for sure. Because when he was in Nepal, he'd of course eat meat more often. When he came to Delhi, moved in our house as vegetarian, so he wouldn't eat, not couldn't, but wouldn't eat meat
Right.
often. So
Right.
already he'd wake up with less gas and less
Right.
kind of like this acid reflux in the morning and things like
Right.
that.
Right.
And now anyway, he prefers a salad, because he says it just it's so fibrous that he's just pooping better and using the toilet better, and it just makes him much happier.
How
Yeah.
wonderful. How wonderful. So, like, how has it been is it easy, like, to be vegan in today's times?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, because what we eat in India is all predominantly vegan. You know, people think that veganism has to be a pizza with like vegan cheese, and it doesn't have to be any of those things. Everything you eat in an Indian household can be vegan. You just substitute the ghee with the oil. You know, you just substitute your butter if you want with vegan butter, which isn't, now you have alternatives in the market which are not that expensive, you know. So I would say that yes, because हमारे culture में already है. We have so much vegetarian food.
True.
And, you know, we have all these millets and we have all these kinds of rice and indigenous vegetables and local produce. We have so much that's making it so easy for us to be vegan.
And if you know the yogurt and the ghee, you're sorted.
Exactly.
If you're a vegetarian.
Yeah, you know, some probiotics and some of that good fat is what you're looking at, right?
Sorted, right.
But, you know, if you even... you know, when you look into the vegan stuff, you can actually make all of that. You know, so what we do, and I'll tell you something so simple. If you don't have the time to go and buy soya bean and make soya milk and this and that, sometimes we just get soya milk, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give a little trick, and I don't think that this is necessarily the best trick, but we live in a vegetarian household, right? So we're 8 to 9 members, and, you know, the grandmothers are already vegetarian. They've been there all their life, and nobody wants to force them to change. So it's okay. But they have stopped having milk in their chai. So these are big, big things for old people to make these changes, you know. And they wake up with less mucus. So the old people are realizing that they're not waking up coughing and wheezing and things like that.
Correct, right.
But, you know, even a small thing, like, you know, you just take like 1 spoon of like the regular yogurt, which is in our house, and you put it inside like your first time batch of soya milk, you know, your first time batch. And then every time you just put the soya yogurt in the batch.
Yeah.
So
true.
I'm not saying that, you know, we don't sometimes do and we try to do it very, very minimally. But, you know, it's like that. It's not like I'm going out and I'm fetching that product and I'm bringing it. I don't.
Right.
But if I can get a spoon of the yogurt, put it in my yogurt, you know, because, you know, there are other ways to do it, a capsule and a probiotic, and there's a long procedure for that.
Right.
So this is just relatively simpler.
Right? It's the intention at the end of the day.
It's the intention. Yes, it is the intention. And we are 99.9% vegan. You know, there might be 1 or 2 things sometimes, you know, where you've had something in a biscuit or in a piece of something you've eaten and you don't know, and you haven't realized, you know, it does happen.
Correct, right.
So from that sense, it is easy. It is easy because you can, if you're not starting like hardcore, like I'm not going to do this or I can't even touch it, then it can be a little difficult. But then too, there are alternatives for everything. Yeah. And I'm only talking about one thing, which is yogurt, which is just yogurt, just one thing.
Correct.
Everything else, your smoothies, your plant-based milk, my mother makes, you know, your smoothies, your plant-based milks, your coconut yogurt, all of that my mother can make at home and I can make at home.
Lovely.
So there isn't any problem because all of that can be made at home. And when you buy one coconut, you go through the whole process of making a walnut coconut milk, it takes like 25 to 30 minutes.
Correct, right.
And it's cheap. So people who think that veganism is expensive, that isn't true at all.
Absolutely. And especially if you're making it at home, it's
absolutely
cheap. And it's long lasting. I know yogurt lasts for 10 days in the fridge, cheese lasts for 10 days in the fridge.
Absolutely.
Super easy.
Absolutely.
You know, you'd rather do this now than go to the hospital later.
Yes, exactly. Right. And also connecting with your food. Also,
yes,
you are eating what you're putting, the feeling that you're putting into it. So that's great too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't know where a dead animal's coming from.
Actually, right.
You know, you don't know what the feelings the animal was holding when it died.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And we've all already established that plants are receptive, but they don't have the neurology to experience fear.
Correct.
You know, so they're not like saying, don't kill me. They're not crying at that moment. They're receptive. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's the people who give you that debate of plants also feel, I think it's the two between, it's the lesser evil. That's what I can say.
So have you got the meat alternatives for your husband? Are you
no, he doesn't feel it that much. He doesn't feel that inclined to it. Neither do I.
That's great. We are done with that.
Yeah. And I think the other question you asked me is why
it's
not?
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, why no? Is because if you're always considering if taste comes before health, then I'm sorry, it's going to be very difficult. Then it's going to be difficult even getting healthy on a vegetarian, non-vegetarian, any diet,
Correct. Right.
So taste can't come first. And also you have to realize how to certain things in the vegan cuisine, how to acquire that taste, how to make them tasty.
Yeah.
So that process is patience. You need to develop that patience, and not everybody has
And
it.
I think it comes with time. You just need to
Yeah.
hang in there for
That's all. You have to have the patience for it.
Yes.
Yeah. And the second thing, all these fears surrounding where am I getting my B12 from, where am I getting my D3 from on a vegan diet is to some degree a real fear. It is a real fear. You can get it from your all the food that you eat, but then you have to be super mindful. You're getting your nuts daily, you're getting your seeds daily, you're getting your probiotics, you're getting your greens, you're getting your fruits and vegetable portions, pulses, grains. So I know in today's fast life, you probably can't keep a check on all of that. And that is one aspect of it. To meet those requirements, it can be difficult. But if you're somebody who cares and, just take one or two consultations from a vegan nutritionist, they'll just make you a chart and you follow that chart blindly, and then that makes it easier for you. So there are a few parts of it that might make it difficult for someone, but if you're willing enough, and I think at the end of the day, it is that willingness to look at somebody else's pain before your pleasure.
Absolutely.
Can you do that?
Yes.
That's the question.
And then once you make that connection, it becomes easy, I think. It's just here, right? Once you make that connection. And even at SHARAN, we don't advise any supplements, no protein, no calcium, nothing.
Right.
Only vitamin D and B12 if your levels are low.
That's it, yeah.
Supplement and get it on track. Even we having the supplements.
Right,
but I'd
right.
rather have these supplements than have medicines and procedures later, isn't it?
Yeah, right. I don't mind having a plant-based supplement. It's okay,
Yes,
I mean, even when you're pregnant, they do advise you to take a supplement,
Right.
Older people are asked to take supplements, you give kids some different kinds of supplements. So I just feel like the factors of the world we live in today, the stress today, after so many days, just because we had to get some stuff, after the longest time we stepped into a mall. And I just feel like vibrationally, I just don't understand that. And for some reason, after the whole pandemic, even being inside a mall was stressful for me.
I can understand. Right.
I was not feeling it, and I could feel the agitation within myself. So the world is very fast, and you're expected to catch up with technology, and you're expected to catch up with bad air and bad water. Of course, your body is going to react.
True.
So better to have a plant-based supplement, than to expect that, okay, eating meat is going to give it to me. Where do you know where your meat is coming from?
Absolutely.
So yeah.
So tell me about this third feather in your cap, minimalism. Tell me, how did that begin, and is it a part of your spiritual process, and how did you go about doing it, and what do you feel after doing it? And what do you do? How do you do it?
I think minimalism is allied with veganism. Some part of me feels so. Because it's this, when you start thinking about yourself and animals, then you start thinking about the world.
Right.
Because I am just one part of this complete creation. But I want to see myself as the complete creation.
Correct.
And if I see myself as the complete creation, do I want garbage within me? Do I want bad choices? Do I want the smog? I don't want those things within me. So those things can't be possibly good for anybody, for the planet. So we've transitioned buying from sustainable brands where your veggies and everything comes in cloth bags, and then they are chargeable and you can return them. And we try to avoid buying from very big brands. And like I said, today I was there for a desperate reason, but I mean, this is probably once in a blue moon where I don't have anywhere else to go, and that's the only place I can get something. is, to avoid buying from fast fashion brands and avoid buying from brands where you don't know what the consumer chain is like. So buying from local people, buying from brands that can tell you where they're sourcing their material, how they're paying their artisans to use, things in the house that go to waste into art projects. I love doing art projects. I remember once I was teaching a workshop to children from underprivileged, sections of society, and a craft workshop. So I was teaching an out of the box workshop where I had to teach them how to use boxes to do a lot of different things. And I had 60 children in the workshop, and all the materials I was able to source from my house because I had so much stuff in the house. I had over 100 boxes. I had colors and stickers and pens and everything. And I'm one of those people who uses things till the end, till my clothes don't have holes in them, till they're not really completely falling apart. And then when they fall apart, I give them new life. I make cloth-based bags. I do upcycled fashion. All my mother's and my old clothes become my daughter's clothes. So my daughter rarely ever, we rarely ever get her new clothes. She's just wearing all of mine and my mom's clothes.
How wonderful. How wonderful.
I have like a local tailor. So I'm also generating some, employment.
Right.
And then there are also other people who do it. So I work with them. We've now switched over from local cleaning products to like Rita, and my mom's making bioenzymes in the house. So once you make one shift and you feel good about it, it acts as a positive reinforcement, and then you just keep making shifts after that and again, and then it just feels so good. It just feels good.
I can imagine. Yeah. I can imagine. Wow.
Yeah, it just feels so good.
So it must be so spiritually uplifting as well. Have you seen a shift? I'm sure you have, right?
I feel like everything I do now is always keeping in mind what's the kind of world that I want to create for my daughter. And in that world, when I envision that world, people are kinder to species who can't fight for themselves. People are making smarter choices. Technology and nature is supported by technology. And we all have spiritual strength. Now, when I say spiritual strength, it doesn't mean that one needs to do rituals and sit in a temple. For me, that's not what spiritual strength is. I just think of it as this way, that when you want big biceps, you do bicep curls, and that's how you're building biceps. Spiritual strength, the practices like veganism, philosophies like veganism and minimalism and sustainability are spiritual practices. They are bicep curls for spirituality.
Absolutely. So beautifully said. Yes.
And it's always thinking, what am I leaving behind? And we studied this concept in school in economics. It was, you're thinking, when you're talking about sustainability, sustainable growth. What is that? What does that mean? And you study these things in school, but then they leave you because you have to make a living and you have to join an MNC and you have to do a big job and make good money and have a car. And you know something? I can afford all those things. I don't have a car. I don't drive a car. And it's a choice. It's a choice. The world doesn't need one more car. I can take public transport. I can use the metro.
Right.
I make choices that make life less luxurious for me.
But that's your bicep.
Yeah, that's my bicep curl. Exactly.
Right.
Putting myself in a situation where किसी और को और दुनिया को उससे फायदा हो सकता है, that's my bicep curl. Right. But that doesn't mean I ignore who I am. I'm not this righteous, like over compliant person. I know when to draw boundaries as well. That's very important. Yes, it's a balance. Correct. I'm not one of those over giving and then now I feel empty and my cup has nothing in it,
Right.
So it's a lot about that balance, but knowing that all the choices you make need to be for the betterment of the world, because you're not alone in the world. You're living in an illusion. Yes. You're living in an illusion if you think that you are subtracted from nature, if you are subtracted from all the impacts of all the actions that you're putting into the world. You're not. You're not. Yeah.
So Meher, if we have somebody who's never even considered all this, what would be the first step that you think that they should take to start their journey?
I feel like if you're talking about veganism, because I think all of these have a different path, but if you're simply thinking about or feeling called to make a different choice, a life choice, a food choice, I would say spend time with, the minute you start spending time with those who are less privileged than you are, life changes. When you go to a animal shelter, when you go to, a children's home or an old age home, or you just simply go out of this luxury or pleasure seeking principle and step out to experience life through the eyes or the senses of another, I think it brings you a little closer to that choice difference that you want to make.
So beautifully well said. Meher, it's been inspiring. It's been wonderful. And you speak so well and you've articulated our thoughts, which are there already, but you've just said it so beautifully. Now I open to questions. If there is anybody who would like to ask any question, I would request you to just type it in the chat box. And I'm sure Meher, I remember asking Meher that, are you open to, is there anything you don't want me to ask you? And she's like, I'm always open. I'm open. So anything there is,
Anything.
yes, yeah. So
I
some
feel like when we live a clean life, there's no need to have secrets.
absolutely. What is there to hide, isn't it?
What is there to hide?
Actually, somebody is asking for your favorite smoothie recipe.
So I have a very dear friend and someone who's helped me in this space. Her name is Vinita Contractor, and she's a wonderful person, and
Of course.
does a lot of work in the vegan space, plant-based space, obviously. So I love her, vegan recipe, and I know that all of us are studying from various places and getting all our learnings from the collective consciousness. But I've realized this kind of smoothie that works best for me is to have one type of green. Okay, so it could be palak, it could be purple amaranth, green amaranth, it could be one of those greens. They work well. Chulai, chulai, I think that's what you call it. And then I put a fruit, a banana or an apple. I know sometimes people are not very mixing leaves with the fruits, but I always say that, and I think that's something I've learned from Vinita, is that just leaves have very different water content compared to other vegetables. So when you
Right.
combine them with fruits, it's not the same effect as when you put, like, say, a tomato and an apple together. That's definitely going to have, for some people, going to have a kind of a reaction. So I like to do one leaf, one fruit, banana, apple. Then I like to add sometimes a little lime. Then I like to add a natural sweetener like either fig or date,
Right.
fig or date. And then I like to add sometimes ginger and a microgreen, like it could be pudina, it could be dhania,
Right.
some, small green. And then I also like to add cinnamon to taste sometimes.
How nice. Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's what even we at Sharan. In fact, my smoothie right here has mint and frozen bananas, and it's yum. It's yum.
Yeah, it's delicious.
So Ranjana is asking, there's so much plastic from the deals and the biscuits I buy. I keep collecting them. Please suggest ideas how I can reuse them.
Okay, so I'll tell you, there is this company, a brilliant company. I think they're based out of Pune. They're called Recharka, Rechark, and you can find them on social media and everything. They make the most brilliant products I have seen. Recharka, Recharka.
Okay.
Yeah. They make the most brilliant products because what they do is they ask you to send across whatever bags you may have, plastic that comes from Amazon, ideally things that are not wet and dirty. So you would just clean it out and air it out for them. That will make their life a little bit easier. Just clean it out, air it out. Chips ke packets, namkeen ke packets, noodles, food based, your Surf Excel bags, Amazon bags, anything. Just air it out, pack it up, courier it to them, and they make the most phenomenal bags, table mats, beautiful. They put it on the charkha, so they have women who run the charkha, and they use these plastics on the charkha. It's brilliant. It's just brilliant. Their work is brilliant.
Wow, I'm going to do that because I'm also always collecting.
I have a huge
I know.
You know,
Exactly,
I have a
exactly.
huge pile waiting to courier to them.
Okay, wonderful. Charu says, my purse is made of biscuit wrappers. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
there's
nice.
people doing that out there now. Yeah, yeah.
Xenia is saying smoothies replace breakfast. Is it? Yes, at Sharan, that's what we recommend. For me, it
Yeah.
does. Does it for you as well, Meher? It's only
So yes, I start my day with a smoothie, but I'm a breastfeeding mother. So I feel a little bit hungrier probably than the normal person because I'm feeding on demand and I'm not looking at age and all that. And she's eating well and she's breastfeeding, so I have no problem. So say maybe 2 hours after the smoothie, I could feel inclined to maybe some poha, some upma. Yeah. So yeah. If I feel like it, I go for it. If I don't feel like it, I
okay.
don't.
All right,
Yeah.
great. Manisha is asking, have you ever gone off track from the vegan path, especially during the initial years?
No, once I started, there was no going back. The only few days that I had that was because the gynecologist kept saying, have some eggs, have something or some. It was only those 8 to 10 days
But no,
through the 5 years, nothing else, nothing else.
wonderful. MK is asking, is there any alternatives to soy milk?
So, there's a lot of debate about soya. There's these, is it right? Does it affect us? Is it causing man boobs? There are all these questions. But, let's understand that soya has it's also what the receptors are not impacting the human body in the way that we think that they're impacting us. So yes, having soya is fine in limited quantities. You don't want to have a lot of the soya.
Bean, right? It's a bean.
It's just a bean. Exactly. I think the problem with that bean has predominantly been over the years that they haven't been able to show for enough non-GMO soybean.
Right.
So, but now there is organic soybean available in the market.
I think
So
it was the dairy market also, which is
yes,
kind of propelled.
yes,
We don't want
yes,
people to shift
yes,
to soy milk.
yes. But even me, with people, especially with like thyroid and people who are like breastfeeding and pregnant, they always tell to keep the soy intake on a down low.
Right. So has
So
your
like
thyroid improved after going on a plant-based diet?
my
Levels, yes.
no, not me. I'm just telling people
Okay,
who
just
have.
generally. Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Sorry.
generally. Yeah,
Okay.
generally.
Right.
And then talking about your pregnant women, so they tell to keep it moderate and but like eating like say some soy 3 times a week in the form of, I eat soya yogurt, I love it, and it
Right.
makes me feel really good because I'm getting the probiotic but I'm also getting the protein.
Correct. Yeah.
And out
Because,
of all the plant-based milks, you're going to get the most protein there.
right.
you know
Yeah.
Coconut is a delicious milk, but coconut is also heavier on the good fat.
Yeah. Because the fiber is removed, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it has more of the good fat than it does the protein. So people make all kinds of milk. People also make peanut milk.
Yes.
So
Yeah. We
peanut
use
milk is also protein and good fat both,
correct.
you know.
Right. Yeah.
But I think the most protein you're going to get from is soy milk. But you can make milk from anything: almonds, walnuts, Brazilian nuts, hemp. Oh yes. So hemp milk is delicious. You can buy. There are companies doing. A lot of people don't know much about hemp and haven't explored it yet. But hemp is brilliant. It is one of the only seeds out there that has, I think, 10 all essential amino acids. Brilliant. You can eat it on salads as a seed, and
Right.
hemp hearts can be strained and put into milk. So hemp is brilliant for nutrition in general.
Right. And even green leaves, the
Yeah,
smoothies that we have will take
yeah,
care of your protein,
exactly.
minerals, vitamins, calcium, everything. Okay.
For
So,
people saying oat milk is also great, because it has extra calcium and like these B12 and stuff. But the problem with oat milk is it's also high in gluten. So people who probably have a little bit response to that,
gluten, right.
yeah, then it's not, especially people with celiac and gluten intolerance, then oat milk is not the best.
So isn't it amazing, Meher? Nature is so abundant. There you have dairy milk, and look at the amount of, plant-based milks that are available. Isn't
Yeah,
it amazing?
yeah,
So
yeah,
we just
yeah.
need to make that connection, I think.
Yes,
No,
yes.
how do you make that oats milk?
I
Okay.
think we don't make the oat milk because we don't drink the oat milk. Like I said, we're not very great. I don't like to have too much gluten in my diet. But it's the same way. I think you do everything, you put everything in a mixie, you blend it, and then you strain it with water. It's pretty much
Correct.
the same way of making plant-based milk.
Correct.
And you can find, ma'am, you can find these recipes online very easily. YouTube, oat milk recipe, you will easily find it.
Yeah. And if you go on our website, we have over 500 recipes, everything
Perfect.
plant-based. And we have videos and everything. So just visit our website.
Yeah, I think someone's also asking me hemp. So
What hemp
Yeah, that's
is?
it. So hemp is actually the seed of the cannabis plant. Now, don't worry, because when you consume hemp, you're not going to have a high, and this is not like smoking marijuana or anything. No, not at all. There are two components to hemp. There's CBD and THC. Okay, so THC is the one that kind of gets you a little high, but we're not looking at that at all because it's in the flower, not in the seed. Actually, in my husband's hometown in Nepal, they actually make ganja ko chutney, which means ganje ke
Yeah.
seed ki chutney, and it's very
Ah,
famous in cold places in the mountains
okay.
because it's very good. It's got high protein, high, it's brilliant. So in the same way you would soak hemp, they called hemp hearts, and hemp heart is a nice way of doing it because they're just extracted nicely for you. The inner seed is extracted for you. You get the hemp heart, you soak it in water, you put it in the milk, the water the same way, and then you strain it. Exactly the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
B12 supplement somebody is asking for. So I'll ask, I mean, we use methylcobalamin. I think, is it that's the
Yeah.
same we
I'm
use?
using Univade.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Bhavna is
Yes.
asking, what is tempeh? What's tempeh?
So I have not eaten a lot of tempeh, but I also believe tempeh is in the similar category of eating tofu.
Yes.
It's the same thing. It's just a different way of how the food is prepared.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just prepared from different beans, and like you said, it's just a different preparation. But they
Correct.
say it's very good. I haven't found someone who's doing good tempeh in Delhi, so I
Ah,
haven't come around to it yet.
right. But I think paneer, I mean, tofu is a great replacement for
Yeah.
paneer. And so I
Yeah.
think we are good there, I guess.
We
Tempeh,
recently just explored making kadai tofu
oh,
and tofu ke parathe, and it turned out to be the most
yum.
incredible experience.
I know, I know. Even we have tofu ka parathe regularly. We love it. We love it.
It's yum.
So,
So someone's asking about holy basil.
mhm.
Holy basil can be used as a micro, not as a macro. You need to use a macro green like spinach or chulai, and then add some holy basil to it.
Yeah, because
Yes.
that's strong in flavor, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's very strong. Yeah.
Okay. So it was really, really a pleasure speaking with you. I just want you to give us the last one-liner that we take away because you gave us some amazing one-liners. I hope I'm not putting pressure on you, but anything which we can take away and which is going to keep us thinking.
As a student of Buddhism, I've just finished my graduation in Buddhist philosophy under the Nalanda University.
Mhm.
And one of the most brilliant things that we say in our prayer, at the end of our prayer, is related to, and I think that's the most amazing thing about Buddhist philosophy, is that you're not seeking God. You're not seeking God. You are seeking your true nature. That's what you're seeking. So at the start, the end of the prayer, we always say, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Wow.
And in that prayer, what you're doing is that you're elevating and giving yourself that status, knowing that it is in my hands to become a Buddha. And if I do it, the driving force needs to be the benefit of all.
Amen.
And if you can put that in all your actions, in the work you do, in the food you eat, in the words you speak, in the thoughts you think, I think that it's probably the most beautiful way to live.
Thank you. Thank you, Meher. But I want to end with this prayer and we do it together. Can we do that?
Yes.
All right. You lead and we will say after you.
I'm
Okay?
going to lead you into a short shloka, if you are okay with that.
Yes.
And then I'll end with the last sentence that I just said.
Right.
Okay. Tayatha Om Gate Gate Varagate Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha Dayatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha Tayatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha. May I become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings.
May I become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Thank you, Meher. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Love you all.